My name is Dr. Jinish. I'm from Department of Chemistry, Ramaya University of Applied Sciences. In this lecture, we will study about different acid-base concepts with the help of few examples. In the early stages of chemistry, acids were distinguished by their sour taste and their effect on certain plant pigments such as litmus. Bases were substances which reacted with acids to form salts. We have been studying about acids and bases for a long time. Can you give the definition of an acid or base? Or can you give a theory which explains the concept of acids and bases? There is no simple answer to this. The answer depends on whether we are considering ionic interactions or ionic reactions in aqueous solution, in non-aqueous solution, or in a fused melt, and whether we require a measure of the strength of acids and bases. For this reason, we need to know several theories. These are the different theories on acids and bases and their concepts. 1. Arrhenius theory of acids and bases. 2. Bronsted-Lowry theory. 3. Lewis acid base theory. 4. The Lex-Flood definition of acids and bases. 5. Solvent system based definition on acids and bases. We will study one by one. First, Arrhenius theory of acids and bases. In 1884, Arrhenius suggested the theory of electrolytic dissociation and proposed self-ionization of water. Here you can see the equation. Water dissociates into hydrogen ion and OH minus ion. As per this definition, substances producing hydrogen ions were called acids and substances producing OH minus ions were called bases. A typical neutralization reaction is given where hydrochloric acid reacts with sodium hydroxide, forms sodium chloride and water. In this reaction, we can see that HCl produces H plus ion and will be known as acid. Sodium hydroxide produces OH minus ions, so it will be called as a base. In aqueous solutions, the concentration of H plus is often given in terms of pH, where we can write a relationship between hydrogen ion concentration and pH as pH equal to negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. Even though ionization of water is small, we can write the equation water dissociates into hydronium ion and OH minus ion. We can write the equilibrium constant for this reaction, and it is written here K1 equal to hydronium ion concentration into OH minus ion concentration divided by square of water concentration. Since water is in excess, its concentration we can call it as unity. So the equation can be rewritten as Kw equal to concentration of hydronium ion into concentration of OH minus ion. And here we will call Kw as ionization product of water. Ionization of water depends on temperature. So concentration of hydronium ion and OH minus ion depends on temperature. Therefore, ionic product also changes with temperature. Here we are showing one table which depicts ionic products of water at different temperature. The value of ionic product of water Kw is 1 into 10 to the power minus 14 mole square per liter square at 25 degrees Celsius. But this value varies with temperature. At 25 degrees Celsius, Kw is 1 into 10 to the power minus 14. At this temperature, H hydronium ion concentration will be 10 to the power minus 7 and OH minus ion concentration will be 10 to the power minus 7 moles per liter. Now consider Now consider an acid Ha, which can donate a proton H plus ion. If we add this acid Ha into water, it will increase the concentration of hydronium ion. We can write that equation as Ha plus H2O gives H3O plus A minus. And we can write the ionic product of water, that is hydronium ion concentration, into A minus divided by concentration of acid Ha into concentration of H2O. In dilute solution, concentration of water is constant. So if we multiply Kw with this concentration of H2O, we will get another constant, which is Ka, which is this acid dissociation constant, and the representation for acid dissociation constant is given as Ka equal to hydronium ion concentration into A minus divided by concentration of acid, which is Ha. The pH scale is used to measure the activity of hydrogen ions, and we can write an equation pH equal to negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. For example, the concentration of hydrogen ion in a solution is 10 to the power minus 3 moles per liter, then the pH of the solution will be 3. Similarly, if the concentration of H plus ion in a solution is 10 to the power minus 9 moles per liter, then the pH will be 9. In similar way, the acid dissociation constant Ka can be represented using a formula pKa equal to negative logarithm of Ka. Here pKa will be a measure of strength of an acid. Similarly, like pH, it will give measure of strength of or measure of the concentration of H plus ion. Here pKa will give measure of strength of an acid. If acid is strong, then the amount of H plus ion it produces will be high. Then its pH will be low. But at the same time, for an acid which is strong, its Ka dissociation constant value will be high, but pKa will be lower, because the equation states that pKa equal to negative logarithm of Ka. So Ka and pKa, they are inversely proportional. Acid strength increases on moving from left to right in the periodic table. Here you can see that methane, ammonia, water and hydrogen fluoride. Here, other than hydrogen, the other elements, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen and fluorine. So these elements are in a period. We can see that in a period. Here, acid strength increases on moving from left to right. So from carbon to fluorine, we can see that the dissociation constant increases and pKa decreases. pKa decreases means the strength of the acids are decreasing. Acid strength also increases on moving down a group. Here you see hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen bromide and for hydrogen iodide. For all these acids, pKa value is given. So here we can see that pKa value decreases. pKa value decreases means acid dissociation constant increases. Acid dissociation constant increases means the strength of the acid increases. Some acids have more than one hydrogen atom and the dissociation of H plus ions from these takes place in multiple steps. For example, phosphoric acid. Formula of phosphoric acid is H3PO4. So there will be 3-step dissociation of H plus ions from this acid. So there will be 3 different dissociation equations. So we'll be able to get 3 different dissociation constant. If you are getting 3 different dissociation constant, then the pKa value will be always 3 different pKa values. Successive dissociation constant rapidly become more positive. That is, the phosphate species formed on successive removal of H plus become less acidic. So here you see the equation. Each successive dissociation where the pKa value increases. The pKa value increases means the Ka value decreases. Ka value decreases means the acid strength decreases. So after the removal of the first H plus ion, we are getting H2PO4 minus. Still it is acidic, but its acidic strength will be definitely lower than that of H3PO4. Similarly, HPO4 minus, which is the product after the dissociation of the second H plus ion, which is also an acid. HPO4 minus is an acid, but its pK value is higher than that of the phosphoric acid H3PO4. What does it mean? Its pK value increases, which is dissociation constant decreases, which means acid strength also decreases. Some acids have more than strength of oxo acid. If an element forms a series of oxo acids, then more oxygen atoms are present. So oxo acids means the acids which contain oxygen atoms. More oxygen atom presence, more acidic it will be. The reason for this is that the electrostatic attraction for the proton that decreases as the negative charge is spread over more atoms, thus facilitating ionization. So more atoms, more oxygen atoms, more ionization. More ionization means more strength of the acid, which indicates more Ka. Ka will increase based on the number of oxygen atoms. If Ka increases, pK will be decreasing. So here you can see different oxo acids where when the number of oxygen atom increases, you can see that pK value decreases. pK value decreases means Ka value increases. Ka value increases means the acid strength increases. So more oxygen atoms, more acidic strength. Arrhenius theory of acids and bases. But that theory is only valid when the solvent is water or the reactants are in aqueous solution. But we use other solvents such as liquid ammonia, glacial acetic acid, anhydrous sulfuric acid, and other hydrogen containing solvents. In that case, we cannot use Arrhenius theory to explain the properties of acids and bases. Therefore, we require Bronsted-Lowry theory because it extends to the above solvents such as liquid ammonia, glacial acetic acid, anhydrous sulfuric acid, etc. Consider the given equation. Here, the first reactant HA reacts with the other reactant B. Here, H stands for hydrogen atom and A and B stands for other atoms. Here, the reactant HA donates hydrogen ion to the reactant B. So, as per Bronsted-Lowry theory, HA is a Bronsted-Lowry acid because it donates proton, which is hydrogen ion, and B is a Bronsted-Lowry base because it accepts a proton. Here, the reaction is written as a reversible reaction. Consider the backward reaction. Here, A minus ion accepts the proton from Hb plus ion. So, A minus is acting as a base and Hb plus acts as an acid. In other words, A minus is the conjugate base of the Bronsted-Lowry acid HA. Similarly, Hb plus is the conjugate acid of the Bronsted-Lowry base B. So, HA and A minus are conjugate acid-base pair, and B and Hb plus are also a conjugate acid-base pair. Only a proton, H plus ion, is the difference between the members in each conjugate acid-base pair. So I am giving you the definition for Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases. Bronsted and Lowry, they worked separately, not together. Bronsted and Lowry independently define acids as proton donors and bases as proton acceptors. Chemical species that differ in composition only by a proton are called a conjugate pair. Thus, every acid has a conjugate base which is formed when the acid donates a proton. Similarly, every base has a conjugate acid from which it accepts proton. Here, an example. HCl reacts with water, forms hydronium ion and chloride ion. In the above reaction, hydrochloric acid is an acid since it donates protons, and in doing so, it forms Cl minus, which is its conjugate base. Since water accepts proton, then it is a base and forms hydronium ion, its conjugate acid. A strong acid has a weak conjugate base and vice versa. That means a weak acid will have a strong conjugate base. One more example. In liquid ammonia, all ammonium salts acts as acids since they can donate protons, and the sulfide ion acts as a base since it accepts protons. Now we will study the limitations of Bronsted-Lowry theory. A limitation of the Bronsted-Lowry theory is that the extent to which a dissolved substance can act as an acid or a base depends largely on the solvent. That means the solvent decides whether the solute is an acid or base. The solute only shows acidic properties if its proton donating properties exceeds those of the solvent. For example, perchloric acid is an extremely strong proton donor. We know that. Hydrogen fluoride, we studied it as an acid. But if hydrogen fluoride, HF, dissolves in perchloric acid, HF will act as a base because it accepts proton from perchloric acid. Because in comparison to hydrogen fluoride, perchloric acid is an extremely strong proton donor. So HClO4 will donate proton, HF will accept. So HF will act as a base in perchloric acid. But HF will act as an acid in water. That means solvent decides whether the solute is an acid or base. That is the drawback of Bronsted-Lowry theory on acids and bases. Now, why liquid ammonia is known as a leveling solvent? If you use liquid ammonia as a solvent and you try to dissolve any mineral strong acids, they will completely react with ammonia and forms ammonium ion, irrespective to the nature of the strong acid. Whether it is hydrochloric acid, whether it is nitric acid, they all form ammonium ions. Only ammonium ions when they react with ammonia. If you take a weak acid such as an oxalic acid also, when it reacts with ammonia, it completely converted into ammonium ion, NH4 plus ion. So weak acids also will be completely converted into ammonium ions. Now if you take a non-acid material such as the urea, if you dissolve urea in liquid ammonia, then also you will get ammonium ions. So irrespective to the strength of the acid, all acids will create ammonium ions when they react with the liquid ammonia. That means the acidic properties after the reaction with ammonia will be same. Before reacting with ammonia, all acids may have different acidic strength, but after reacting with the ammonia, their acid strength will be leveled. That's why liquid ammonia is known as a leveling solvent. Now we will study differentiating solvent. Glacial acetic acid is an example for differentiating solvents. Solvents such as glacial acetic acid emphasize the difference in acid strength, and several mineral acids are only partially ionized in this solvent. This is because acetic acid itself is a proton donor, and if a substance dissolved in acetic acid is to behave as an acid, it must donate protons more strongly than acetic acid. Thus, the dissolved material must force the acetic acid to accept protons. So what will happen? The acidic strength of the acid which is dissolving in acetic acid will be reduced. Thus, the solvent acetic acid makes it more difficult for the usual acid to ionize. So it acts as a differentiating solvent for acids by changing their acid strength. That's why glacial acetic acid is known as a differentiating solvent. But for bases, acetic acid is a leveling solvent. For acids, acetic acid is a differentiating solvent. So there is a thumb rule. A differentiating solvent for acids will act as a leveling solvent for bases. For example, glacial acetic acid, it is a differentiating solvent for acids. but it is a leveling solvent for bases. Similarly, ammonia. Ammonia is a leveling solvent for acids, but it is a differentiating solvent for bases. So we completed now the Bronsted-Lowry theory on acids and bases. In the next class, we will study one more theory about acids and bases. Thank you for hearing. Welcome to the video lecture on hard soft acid base concept. I am Dr. Jinish. I am from Department of Chemistry, Ramaya University of Applied Sciences. The outline of this video lecture is requirement of hard soft acid base concept, examples where hard soft acid base concept is required to explain the characteristics, definition of hard soft acid base concept, explanation of hard soft acid base concept with the help of examples. Before starting the hard soft acid base concept, we will take few experimental observations. First experimental observation: relative solubilities of halides. The solubilities of silver halides in water decrease going down the column of halogens in the periodic table. You can see the following equations. Silver fluoride, when it dissolves in water, it forms silver ion and fluoride ion, and solubility product Ksp equal to 205. Solubility product is the equilibrium constant for a solid substance dissolving in an aqueous solution. Means if Ksp is higher, means the solubility of that solid in aqueous solution will be higher. Ksp is lower, means the solubility of that solid in aqueous solution will be lower. Here, silver fluoride, when it dissolves in water, it ionizes and forms their ions in the aqueous solution, and the solubility product is 205, which is a very high value. But when you come down in the periodic table, instead of fluorine, if it is chlorine, silver chloride when it dissolves in water, it ionizes, but see its solubility product, it is only 1.8 into 10 to the power minus 10. For silver bromide, solubility product is 5.2 into 10 to the power minus 13. Silver iodide, solubility product 8.3 into 10 to the power minus 17. Here you can see the solubility product is decreasing from silver fluoride to silver iodide. This means that solubility is decreasing. Similar trend you can observe in mercury halides, and their solubility is in the order mercuric fluoride, mercuric chloride, mercuric bromide, then mercuric iodide. So here the solubility is decreasing from mercuric fluoride to mercuric iodide. But this trend is not followed by some halides. For example, lithium fluoride is less soluble in water compared to the other halides of lithium. Based on our previous experiences or previous cases, lithium fluoride should be highly soluble in water, but that is not the case. For example, lithium fluoride is less soluble in water compared to the other halides of lithium. Similarly, magnesium fluoride, aluminum fluoride, they are less water soluble compared to their halides. Magnesium fluoride is less soluble than magnesium chloride. Aluminum fluoride is less water soluble than aluminum chloride. Now, how can we explain these divergent or different trends? How is it possible? Second experimental observation: coordination of thiocyanate to the metal. We have studied coordination chemistry, and we studied about ligands, how they interact with the central metal atom or ion. All these things we have already studied. Numerous ions and other groups can act as ligands, forming bonds to metal ions. Thiocyanate has the capacity to bond through either its sulfur or nitrogen. We know that they are thiocyanate is an ambidentate ligand. When it bonds to a large, highly polarizable metal ion, such as mercuric ion, it attaches through sulfur. So thiocyanate, when it interacts with the mercury ion, the interaction or the bond is happening through sulfur in the thiocyanate. But when it bonds to smaller, less polarizable metals such as zinc ion, it attaches through nitrogen. That means when silver ion comes, the sulfur atom is interacting. When zinc ion comes, nitrogen is interacting. How is it possible? How can we explain this behavior? Third experimental observation: equilibrium constant of exchange reaction. Take the coordination sphere CH3HgH2O+, where CH3 and H2O are attached as ligands to the mercury ion. When it is interacting with the other potential ligands, we can see that some exchange reaction may happen. Exchange reaction means one of the group will be exchanged by another group. For example, when this coordination sphere CH3HgH2O+, when it interacts with the hydrochloric acid or hydrogen chloride, it forms the product CH3HgCl plus H3O+. And the equilibrium constant or dissociation constant is 1.8 into 10 to the power 12, which is very, very high. Here the equilibrium constant is very high. Very high means reaction is almost completed. But the reaction with the hydrogen fluoride does not. When the same coordination sphere CH3HgH2O+, when it interacts with the hydrogen fluoride, the reaction will happen. CH3HgF and H3O+ will form, but the equilibrium constant value is 4.5 into 10 to the power minus 2, which is very, very low compared with the reaction with the hydrochloric acid. You see, same coordination sphere, similar halides. Hydrogen chloride is a halide of hydrogen. Hydrogen fluoride is a halide of hydrogen. They are the halides of the same element. Still you can see there is a preference towards one reaction. Reaction with the hydrochloric acid is much quicker, much quicker rate compared to hydrogen fluoride reaction. Is it possible to predict the relative magnitude of such equilibrium constant, or why it is happening? Why the similar kind of compounds are interacting with one of the coordination sphere? To explain the above observations, Pearson presented the concept of hard and soft acids and bases, designating polarizable acids and bases as soft and non-polarizable acids and bases as hard. Designating polarizable acids and bases as soft and non-polarizable acids and bases as hard. Hard-soft distinction depends on polarizability. Electrons, we studied about polarizability earlier. Polarizability is the degree to which a molecule or ion is distorted by interaction with other molecules or ions. Electrons in polarizable molecules can be attracted or repelled by charges on the other molecules, forming slightly polar species that can then interact with the other molecules. The HSAB concept is a useful guide to explain acid-base chemistry and other chemical phenomena. Pearson stated, hard acids prefer to bind to hard bases and soft acids prefer to bind to soft bases. Interactions between two hard or two soft species are stronger than those between one hard and one soft species. The three examples we have seen as experimental observations above can be interpreted in such terms, with reactions tending to favor hard and soft combinations. So in these cases, the reactions of similar compounds may not be similar. Reactions have preferences. Now we will explain the reason behind these differences or divergence in the three experimental observations. First case, relative solubilities of halides. In these examples, the metal cation is the Lewis acid and the halide is the Lewis base. If the bond between the cation and the anion is more covalent in nature, their solubility will be lower and vice versa. So, if the bond between cation and anion is more covalent in nature, their bond strength will be more, their covalent bond strength will be more, but their solubility will be lower, and vice versa. From top to bottom in halogen group in a periodic table, the soft character increases. So, iodide ion will be softer and fluoride ion will be hard. Now we will see the example. We will see the solubility product of different silver halides that we took as our first experimental observation. Here, silver ion is more polarizable and therefore it is soft. So silver ion is a soft ion. In silver fluoride, silver ion is soft and fluoride ion is hard, because in the periodic table, the halogen group in the periodic table, soft character increases down the group. That means soft character will be more for the ions which are at the lower portion, that is iodine, iodide or bromide. For fluoride, the polarizable capacity will be less and it will be soft. So in silver fluoride, silver ion is soft and fluoride ion is hard. Therefore, the interaction in silver fluoride is soft hard interaction, and therefore the interaction now it is weak. Because of the weak interaction, if we dissolve silver fluoride in water, it will easily ionize us. Therefore, the solubility will be higher and shows higher solubility product. In the series of silver ion halide reactions, the iodide ion is much softer. That means more polarizable than the others and interacts more strongly with the silver ion, a soft cation. Because iodide is soft, silver ion is also soft, so the interaction is soft interaction. The result is a greater covalent contribution to the bonding in silver iodide relative to that of the other halides. So the covalent character of the bond in silver iodide will be strong. Therefore, it will not ionize or dissociate easily in water. So the solubility and the solubility product of silver iodide will be lower. The order in the solubility in silver halides will be silver fluoride is having the highest solubility, followed by silver chloride, silver bromide and silver iodide. But we found that in the lithium halides, the solubilities are roughly in the reverse order. There, lithium fluoride was showing the lowest solubility. Now we will explain the reason behind it. The reason for this reverse order can be explained by hard-soft acid-base concept. Unlike silver ion, lithium ion is hard. So in lithium fluoride, the interaction between the cation and anion will be hard interaction, which is strong and lead to more covalent natured bond. Due to the strong covalent nature, lithium fluoride will not dissolve easily in water and the solubility product will be lower. So the tendency of lithium fluoride to be solvated in water will be less. Chloride and bromide ion are more softer than fluoride ion, because we know that in halogen group from top to bottom soft character increases. Therefore, the interaction with the bromide ion and lithium ion will be more of soft hard interaction, because bromide ion is soft. So bromide and lithium ion interaction will be soft hard interaction, which is weak. These weak bonds can undergo ionization when they dissolve in water. So lithium bromide shows higher solubility and solubility product. The order of solubility product of lithium halides are shown below. Lithium bromide is having the highest solubility product, followed by lithium chloride, lithium iodide, lithium fluoride. As per the theory, lithium iodide should have the highest solubility, but because of the larger iodide ion, the solvation capacity lower, but still it is higher than that of lithium fluoride. Now we will take the example of the second experimental observation, that was coordination of thiocyanate to the metal. We found that thiocyanate was an ambidentate ligand, but when thiocyanate is interacting with the mercury ion, the interaction was happening through sulfur atom. But in the case of zinc ion, the thiocyanate is linking through nitrogen atom. At that time, we couldn't explain the reason behind it, but with the help of HSAB concept, we will be able to explain these characteristics. The softer end of the thiocyanate ion is the sulfur. As per HSAB concept, the soft-soft interaction is preferred. So, the softer end of the thiocyanate ligand, which is sulfur, will be forming bond with the mercury ion. Here mercury ion is a softer ion because of its size. That's why HgSCN42- is formed as a soft-soft interaction. Same time, the harder end of the thiocyanate ligand is nitrogen and Zinc2+ ion is hard. So, hard interaction is preferred in this case. Consequently, zinc NCS4 2- will be formed as a hard interaction. So, now we could explain why when interacting with the mercuric ion, why the thiocyanate is linking through sulfur and why thiocyanate is linking through nitrogen when zinc ion is interacting. Other soft cations such as palladium ion, platinum ion, they form thiocyanate complexes attached through softer sulfur. Harder cations such as nickel ion and copper ion, they form nitrogen bonded thiocyanate. There are some transition metals which are intermediate. They are not too hard or not too soft. They can link to either nitrogen or sulfur of the thiocyanate ligand. So they can form linkage isomers. For example, CONH3 SCN2+ and CONH3 NCS2+. Both are linkage isomers. Cobalt is actually not too soft, not too hard. So it can link through both sulfur and nitrogen. Now we will consider the third case in the experimental observations. The third was the equilibrium constant of exchange reaction. Initially we considered two exchange reactions where one is involved with the hydrogen fluoride and one was involved with the hydrogen chloride, and we found that the reaction between hydrogen chloride and the coordination sphere was fast, and the equilibrium constant was 1.8 into 10 to the power 12. When it is interacting with the hydrogen fluoride, the equilibrium constant was quite low, which is 4.5 into 10 to the power -2. So at that time we couldn't explain the reason behind it, but now with the help of HSAB concept we will be able to explain. Consider the following reaction: CH3HgH2O plus BH plus gives CH3HgB plus H3O plus. So consider this is an exchange reaction where the base B is exchanged with the H2O, the ligand in that coordination sphere. In the reaction 1 to 4, the trend is clear that the halide becomes larger and more polarizable. So if you consider the fluoride ion in the HF and you consider the chloride ion in the H, chloride ion is more polarizable because of its higher size. So the polarizability is increasing from hydrogen fluoride to hydrogen iodide if you consider the first 1 to 4 reactions. So it becomes more polarizable. More polarizable means more softer. And the central metal ion is here mercury ion. We know that mercury ion is softer. So if the halide is more softer, then the interaction is more preferred. So the preferred interaction here among these 4 reactions is the hydrogen iodide with the coordination sphere, because iodide is much softer compared to fluoride. Now you consider the other reactions, reaction 5, 6, 7, then we can find some other interesting observations. Among the other examples, the relatively soft sulfur atoms in reaction 6 and 7 also can be viewed as leading to a soft interaction with the mercury ion and large equilibrium constant. You can see a large equilibrium constant in the case of 6 and 7. But in the case of 1 and 5, the harder fluorine and oxygen atom in the hydrogen fluoride and water are less able to compete for attachment to the soft mercury ion. That's why the equilibrium constants are small. Mercury, so I am concluding that this session, mercury ion which is softer, so it prefer softer atoms or ions. So softer atoms or ion among halides, iodide is much softer, so the reaction will be much faster and the equilibrium constant will be higher. In the case of fluoride, if the compound contains oxygen where these atoms are harder, so it will be difficult for a soft ion which is mercury ion to interact with these compounds, and obviously the equilibrium constant will be less. So we now explained the differences that we observed in the 3 cases of experimental observation, and now we clarified the differences we observed with the help of HSAB concept. We will discuss more about HSAB concept in the coming